So I'm sure most of you guys in my chat are familiar with Matt Walsh. We've definitely been, we've shat on Matt Walsh many times in the past. And today is no different. But at least for today, it's for a funny reason. Because today, it's actually been a while, like a week or something like that. I'm a little bit late to the game here. But apparently, Matt Walsh has really pissed off Sonic fans. As you guys know, currently playing in theaters is Sonic the Hedgehog 3. I haven't seen it yet, unfortunately. I haven't gotten a chance to go out and see it. I may see it. Excuse me. My apologies for the cough. I'm still beating this lingering cough that I have. So I apologize for all the clearing of the throat and the coughing. But anyway, Matt Walsh is somebody we've been very we've shit on many times in the past, but apparently he pissed off Sonic fans. I haven't seen Sonic 3 yet. I've seen Sonic 1 and 2, and I thoroughly enjoyed them. As you know, somebody who grew up with the Sonic games and is a fan of the Sonic games, I thought it was pretty good. When the first one came out, I was actually anticipating it was going to be pretty bad, and it surprised me. It was actually really, really good. But Sonic 3 is out. Hoping me and Mrs. Tip can go see it soon. As you see in the chat, she's saying no spoilers. So I'm hoping there are no spoilers in what we're about to get into. But Matt Walsh pissed off Sonic fans. How did he do that? Let's go ahead and let's take a look. So on January 2nd, Matt Walsh tweeted out the following. Took my kids to see Sonic the Hedgehog 3. It didn't quite reach the artistic heights of Sonic the Hedgehog 1, and it lacks some of the beauty and exuberance of Sonic the Hedgehog 2. But it was no less a cinematic masterpiece that will be remembered and praised through the ages. Now you might be thinking, after reading that, how did he piss off the Sonic fans? Why are they mad? Well, it continues. But in all seriousness, it was maybe the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. Dear Lord. Just to give you an idea of what sort of film this is, there's a scene where the two characters played by Jim Carrey both look directly into the camera and explain that they are being played by the same actor. I'm not making this up. I guess he's never heard of breaking the fourth wall, which is really common in forms of media, especially comedic forms of media. Excuse me. But anyway, a lot of people called him out on this in the replies. Bro's never heard of the fourth wall joke. So a fourth wall break. Care to elaborate more? That feels like a weak criticism. I couldn't finish Sonic 2, but it just felt all over the place. Anyway, a lot of people are really upset with this tweet. But this tweet wasn't it. He also did a video where he elaborated on his feelings on the film a little bit more. Sonic the Hedgehog 3, the movie that broke me as a father. Now, we're not going to watch this video. We are going to take a look at one of the videos critiquing his video. And as you can see, many Sonic fans are not happy. Sonic 3 broke Matt Walsh as a father, debunking the worst Sonic 3 movie review. Matt Walsh's Sonic 3 review is terrible. Matt Walsh criticizes Sonic 3 as too dark despite not watching it. Debunking Matt Walsh's horrible review of Sonic 3. Matt Walsh's horrible take on Sonic 3. Like, it just goes on and on and on. So, we're going to take a look at one of these reactions to the Matt Walsh video and give our thoughts as we go along. Potential spoiler alert for anyone who may not have seen the movie. I'm not really sure what gets said in these videos as I haven't fully pre-watched. But here we go. We're going to go with this one by SK. Not familiar with this creator, but let's see what Matt Walsh had to say and their response to what Matt Walsh had to say. So here we go.
Sonic 3 was really good. I enjoyed it a lot. Though I'm hearing reports that this movie broke people's fathers. Because, kids deserve good movies and all. Alright, let's hear them out.
When a man becomes a father, he's called upon to make sacrifices for his family. And often these will be small sacrifices. Sometimes they'll be larger, though, more significant.
Where is he leading to?
And on even rarer...
Yeah, this sounds like really weird, right? Like, going on a family outing to watch a movie with the kids shouldn't be considered a sacrifice if you're a father. Now, you may take the kids to see a movie that you're not necessarily interested in watching, but just going out with the kids and spending time with the kids to watch a film together, having some, father-kid bonding experience. Like, that should be like a positive thing. So this is a really interesting start to his review.
Occasion, the duties of fatherhood will require him to make the kind of sacrifice that, up to that moment, he would have thought himself incapable of making. These are the moments when a man must become a hero, when he must lay his very life on the line. And this...
What the hell is he going on about? What is this? What?
May take many forms. Perhaps he's rushing into a burning building to rescue his child from the fire. Perhaps he has to pull his loved one away from the path of a speeding train because they've been...
What the fuck does any of this have to do with watching Sonic 3 with your kids?
...tied to the tracks by bandits or whatever. Or most harrowing of all, he may be compelled by his paternal obligations to go to a movie theater and watch Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
Clever. So clever. Okay, so he really made an attempt to hype up how bad this movie was, so I'm sure his points will have plenty of substance.
Now, a man in that situation would, of course, much prefer to be engulfed in flames or hit by a speeding train, but that would be the coward's way out.
Then maybe let's start talking about the movie.
Is this like his attempt at like humor? Like, I know that he's done these like cringy, like anti-woke movies where he tries to be funny and fails, but like he really and I'm not even just saying this because we're on opposite sides of the political spectrum, but he really is a very unfunny guy.
Come on, show a little follow-through, Matt.
Now, for the record, I'll say I greatly enjoyed most of the time that I spent with my wife and kids these past 2 weeks. We had a lot of fun together. We played football.
Emerald Bar in the chat says yes, because nothing screams pity me like being forced to watch a movie only his kids want to watch. Dear Lord.
We played outside. We shot BB guns. We played card games and board games. I completely wrecked my whole family in Monopoly.
I look back to my dad, and like, my dad wasn't the best dad on the planet. But when it came to stuff like taking us to the movies and stuff like that, he looked at it, at the very least, he looked at it as something like, hey, you know, it's a great way to spend time with the kids. You know, even if we're watching a movie that I don't give a fuck about, at least I can spend some time with the kids. So, geez, even for my dad, who wasn't the best dad in the world, even he wouldn't go on a monologue like this about like, oh my God, you know, I had to make this huge sacrifice and go to see this kids movie for my kids.
Monopoly 2 nights in a row. Wasn't even close.
I'm so happy to hear about that. Awesome. Great for you. Now let's talk about...
I remember like times when my dad would like pretend to like the movie that we saw, at least, you know, as part of like the, oh yeah, you know, that was a really good movie. In hindsight, I could look back at it and tell that like, oh, he fucking hated it. But it at least it pretended to enjoy the movie to kind of like make it a more fun experience for us.
Sonic 3.
I mean, this is the kind of movie where Jim Carrey plays 2 characters. One is the evil villain, and the other is the evil villain's evil grandfather in old age makeup. And the 2 break into an impromptu dance routine that makes no narrative sense, but lasts approximately 87 minutes.
It makes no narrative sense that maniacal supervillains dance around when they think they've won. All right, buddy, we're off to a great start.
It's the kind of movie where those same characters before the dance routine actually look directly into the camera and explain that they're being played by the same actor.
It's not an explanation.
Has he never seen Deadpool? Or like, even if you want to reference something older, like the Scary Movie movies, like any movie that's like a comedy that breaks the fourth wall, like that's a pretty common bit. And depending on how it's implemented, it could be really funny. He speaks about breaking the fourth wall as if he's never seen it before.
It's a joke that works in universe and on a meta level way too well. What kind of criticism is that? This is what broke you as a father? Well, here's my honest reaction.
I'm not your father. I don't give a fuck about you.
I must assume, and I think assume safely, that there is nothing in the other 2 films that would make this one any less of...
Emerald Bart says someone needs to introduce him to Sonic Generations just to see his mind collapse into itself at a myriad of parallel Sonics, Tails, and Eggman clones interacting with each other. Oh yeah, true.
Obnoxious or horrifically stupid. I'm not
you think
gonna
this
bother
guy?
explaining.
You think that this guy would play a video game for his kids? That's clearly too much to ask for.
The plot of this film and any
his kids are lucky enough that he took them to see this, according to him, god awful movie.
detail. I wasn't tracking it that closely, to be honest.
You weren't paying attention, and you've just admitted this early on in your review, where you're trying to tell us how bad this movie is and that kids deserve good movies.
How are you going to review a movie when you openly admit you didn't even pay attention to it? Like, was this just a filler video? He needed something to fulfill his, contractual commitment to the Daily Wire, and because he couldn't think of anything else. What am I going to do? Oh, I'll talk about Sonic 3.
Movies.
Cause hot damn, you wanna know what's a scam? Your fucking education, nigga. That's what the scam is.
Mostly fighting to stay awake. This is the kind of movie that bores you to the point of putting you to sleep, but also annoys you at the same time. It's kind of an odd combination to be both sleepy and deeply irritated simultaneously.
We need a real
Like, if I were Matt Walsh's kids, I would be like thoroughly upset right now, right? I would be genuinely upset. Like, I thought Dad enjoyed, having a good time and taking us to the movies. So, like, seeing him, like, bitch about how, like, oh, man, I had to make this ultimate sacrifice to take my kids to see this god-awful movie. Like, tell me I'm wrong, chat. Let's get some ones in the chat if you agree. If you were a kid and, like, your parent happened to be a social media influencer of some sort, and they took you to see this movie, and you were happy to go out to see the movie with Dad, if you happened to stumble upon this video of Dad talking about how awful of an experience it was that he had to make this sacrifice for his kids, wouldn't that make you feel like dog shit? Let me get a one in the chat if you agree that would make you feel terrible.
Argument, Matt. Make a real argument.
As for the plot, I can only tell you that Sonic is the good hedgehog, which you may know. There's also an evil hedgehog voiced by...
Imagine trying to explain to people who very likely know the lore of Sonic the Hedgehog, at least the basics, Sonic good, Eggman bad. Imagine feeling the need to explain that to your audience because you're such a brain-dead moron.
Keanu Reeves, who... And I like Keanu Reeves, by the way, but like every other voice actor in this film and most voice actors in most children's films that have been made for the past 20 years... He has no talent as a voice actor and doesn't understand how to act with just your voice.
So, I haven't seen the movie yet, so I can't vouch whether that's true or not, but based on comments that I've seen on social media, it seems like most people are pretty happy with the film and Keanu Reeves' performance in it.
So Sonic has to stop the evil hedgehog and his evil cohorts, that's the Jim Carrey dancing duo I mentioned earlier, from blowing up the world with a big laser. And this has been the evil plan of every evil villain in every blockbuster franchise film for the past 3 decades.
Okay, so you didn't pay attention. Dr. Eggman wasn't planning to destroy the world, he was planning to control the world. He literally argues with Gerald on what the plan should be, and it turns out that Gerald was planning to betray his grandson. They straight up tell you this in the film. Did you watch it?
So he's literally like complaining about the movie, like he's doing this review of the movie and he doesn't even know the fucking plot. Dear Lord.
It's a formula that this movie is not interested in deviating from. This is not the sort of movie that deviates from formulas.
What's the formula? All you mentioned was that one of the villains had a plan to blow up the world, yet instead of standing by that plan, our main villain decides to help the heroes in the end. And if he can't take over the world, he might as well save it. And Shadow doesn't follow up with the plan to destroy the world in the end. It's not just a formulaic destroy the world plot. Shadow has internal conflict because of the grief of losing Maria and his desire for revenge. They spell this out to you, and you didn't pay attention.
I genuinely don't understand how dumb you would have to be to review a movie that you clearly didn't pay attention to. That is utter insanity. No wonder Sonic fans are angry with him. He doesn't know fuck all about what he's talking about.
If you're wondering why the evil hedgehog and the 2 Jim Carreys want to explode the world and murder 8 billion people in a cosmic blast that they will also die in, it's because the older Jim Carrey's granddaughter, I think, was killed, and now he wants to commit murder-suicide because life isn't worth living.
What kind of rate is that? First of all, you didn't...
Keanu also voiced Batman on League of Super Pets. I did not know that. Interesting.
Pay attention to the film. Dr. Eggman doesn't want to destroy the world. He wants to take over the world. Gerald wants to destroy the world. And stop trying to argue that the plan is bad because it's suicidal, because we're talking about Gerald and Shadow, who are suicidal in the movie, largely because of Maria's death. Gerald and Shadow want their final act to avenge Maria. How do you miss the point of that so badly? Oh, it's because you fell asleep.
I'm so glad I'm not the kind of moviegoer that gives a shit about spoilers, because I just spoiled the fuck out of the movie for me in so many ways.
And didn't pay attention.
Like, that's real. That's in the movie. He actually declares his suicidal intention as well.
So you know the character is suicidal in canon, and you're still complaining. It's not just that you barely paid attention, but you also heard the character explain it, and somehow still think it's an issue. Showing illiteracy, Matt Walsh? If you paid attention, I wouldn't have to trash on your review.
Now, if that seems like weirdly bleak,
I mean, it is Matt Walsh. We do know that this guy is a fucking idiot, so this doesn't surprise me at all, if I'm being completely honest.
and dark for a kids movie where the characters bust out impromptu dance routines and randomly break the fourth wall and constantly speak in internet
So he is familiar with the concept of breaking the fourth wall. He literally uses the term by name. So why does he act like it's so bizarre that the characters break the fourth wall in the film?
lingo from 2019. There's a lot of that, by the way. Just as one example, at one point, Jim Carrey says, "Damn you, autocorrect."
Autocorrect jokes still exist today because autocorrect mistakes are still made today. People have made this joke before 2019 because it existed years ago.
If it seems weirdly bleak and dark for that kind of movie, it's because it is.
It's almost like a movie can have lighter and darker elements, and it's a matter of how you balance them.
This is a movie, like so many kids' movies these days, that schizophrenically darts back and forth from being
I would hate to see the kind of movies that Matt Walsh is into, because he sounds like a very boring guy in terms of what he finds entertaining. Then again, we have seen glimpses of the films that he's been involved with, shit like Lady. This guy wants to shit on like movies, right? And he was in Lady Ballers. Lady Ballers, okay?
ironic to painfully self-serious to goofy to earnest and so on and so on. It doesn't try.
He likes John Wayne movies. That's a fact that's been confirmed. I mean, at least he has good taste in that regard. John Wayne films are actually pretty good.
To smooth over these tonal transitions with good writing or
I mean, they're classics, so you can't go wrong with those.
performances.
Give me some examples.
But again, let me remind you, he was in Lady Ballers.
That you didn't fall asleep on while watching the movie. Oh, he doesn't have any because this review is shallow and has nothing of substance to say.
The writing is just terrible, and the performances are atrocious across the board. Instead, it just flings it all against the wall haphazardly, because these are all bullet points that the movie studio knows it has to hit. Because this movie, again, like so many kids' movies these days, is not the fulfillment of anyone's creative vision. It is just the product of a corporate algorithm.
This is just bad faith. You're telling me no decision in this movie was creatively driven and rather a project of some unspecified algorithm?
All right, just say what you want to say, Matt. Just say what you want to say, what we're all pretty sure you're going to say at some point anyway. Just call the movie woke. Like, that's your real problem with it, right? That you think it's woke.
You've decided was the driving force?
It is loud and ugly and obnoxious and disjointed because nobody who made the film actually cared about making a good film.
I think the lack of care is actually present in this review.
I haven't seen Sonic 3 yet, as I mentioned before, but judging by the handling of the source material in the previous films, it actually does seem like the people who make these films do give a shit about the source material. Like, they are Sonic fans. At least that's the vibe I get from how much attention to detail was given to the source material. Again, I haven't seen the third one yet, though, so maybe they really jumped the shark with this one. But so far, Sonic 1 and Sonic 2, it seems like they actually do give a shit about the source material and do a pretty good job of paying homage to it.
Because you rarely give examples, and when you do give examples, you ask why suicidal characters do suicidal things.
Good job.
And they have absolutely no respect for their audience.
You don't have respect for your audience because you gave them this crap review.
I mean, this movie could have been made by AI. We are at a point. If they start making movies with AI, we would not know the difference because they've effectively been doing that for 20 years now.
Goodbye, sir. I will not even
What? They've been making AI movies for what?
dignify that argument with the response.
Now, you might respond here, as many people on Twitter did after I gave a very brief review of this film in a tweet on the site.
Yeah, he's coping about all the people who shit on him on Twitter for his dog shit take.
Days ago. You might respond that, well, this movie isn't for me. It's for kids.
Personally, I wouldn't respond this way. I would just point out the fact that you didn't pay attention and failed to give working examples for your points. So I'll just skip the counter to this. Oh wait, that's the end of the video. That's all he had to say about the movie. Let's just keep track of all the arguments he made for why this is a bad movie. He says it made no sense for maniacal villains to dance around when they think they've won. He said he doesn't like a fourth wall joke that makes sense in-universe and on a meta level. He was falling asleep as if that should make us inclined to believe what he says. He says that the acting is bad because it's bad and there's no examples he referenced. He forgot that Dr. Eggman didn't want to destroy the world and complained about suicidal characters committing to a plan that could kill them. He said the film was just following a formula of villain plans that two of them don't even follow. He said the film couldn't have lighter and darker elements throughout. He said nobody cared about making the movie without proof, and that covers the gist of it. He made no good points, and he didn't even explain some of his major complaints.
So essentially, he reviewed a movie that he didn't even pay attention to. That's essentially what happened. Tipster, have you played Sonic Adventure 2? Because Sonic 3 loosely adapts the plot from that game. I have. It's a very good game, by the way. Especially if you play the original Sega Dreamcast version. At least I thought so. I thought it was a pretty good game.
Nothing of substance was said in this review. You know, this review might be a pain.
Another movie Keanu Reeves voice acted in is Toy Story 4. He voiced Duke Kaboom. I did not know that. Holy shit, that's awesome.
For your brains to process, but if someone really hated this movie, but couldn't even give one good reason for why it's even flawed, I don't know, it sounds like the movie is really hard to criticize. But hey, I'm a believer in second chances. If Matt Walsh wants to have a conversation on one of our Disagreement Day streams, he's more than welcome to have something scheduled. Maybe he'll have better points against this movie. Maybe he'll convince the world that it's bad. Though if that day comes...
If the world chooses to become my enemy, I will fight like I always have.
All right, that's pretty much the video. I just wanted to cover this because I thought it was like the most bizarre crossover in internet history. Matt Walsh versus the Sonic fan community. Like, that's just a wild crossover that I never would have expected ever. But there you go. That's how Matt Walsh pissed off Sonic fans all over the internet by giving the most dog shit, ill-informed review of Sonic 3 in existence. Unfucking believable. It's really funny, though. It's really fucking funny.